Welcome to a live reading with intentions of a mastermind. My name is Alyssa, and you are joining us today for the reading of Psycho-Cybernetics. If this is your first time ever joining Intentions of a Mastermind, you could definitely join the book club. It's absolutely free to do so. Just click the link in the description. If you have any questions, even if you're watching the recording, leave them in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. So we're picking up today from chapter 7, which is on page 107, and it is titled, You Can Acquire the Habit of Happiness. The chapter reads, In this chapter, I want to discuss with you the subject of happiness, not from a philosophical standpoint, but from a medical standpoint. Dr. John A. Schneidler's definition of happiness is a state of mind in which our thinking is pleasant a good share of the time. From a medical standpoint, and also from an ethical standpoint, I do not believe that simple definition can be improved upon. It is what we are talking about in this chapter. Happiness is a good medicine. Happiness is native to the human mind and its physical machine. We think better, perform better, feel better, and are healthier when we are happy. Even our physical sense organs work better. Russian psychologist K. Cheve tested people when they were thinking pleasant and unpleasant thoughts. He found that when thinking pleasant thoughts, they could see better, taste, smell, and hear better, and detect finer differences in touch. Dr. William Bates proved that eyesight improves immediately when the individual is thinking pleasant thoughts or visualizing pleasant scenes. Margaret Covert has found that memory is greatly improved and that the mind is relaxed when the subject is thinking pleasant thoughts. Psychosomatic medicine has proved that our stomachs, liver, heart, and all our internal organs function better when we are happy. Thousands of years ago, wise old King Solomon said in his Proverbs, A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth up the bones. It is significant, too, that both Judaism and Christianity prescribe joy, rejoicing, thankfulness, cheerfulness as a means toward righteous and a good life. Harvard psychologists studied the correlation between happiness and criminality and concluded that the old Dutch proverb, happy people are never wicked, was scientifically true. They found that a majority of criminals came from unhappy homes, had a history of unhappy human relationships. A 10-year study of frustration at Yale University brought out that much of what we call immortality and hostility to others is brought about by our own unhappiness. Do I think I'm a god? I think everyone is an extension, an expression of God. So, Dr. Schneidler said that unhappiness is the sole cause of all psychosomatic ills and that happiness is the only cure. A very recent study of the word disease means a state of unhappiness or dis-ease. A very recent survey showed that by a large and optimistic, cheerful businesswoman who looked on the brighter side of things were more successful than pessimistic businessmen. It appears that in our popular thinking about happiness, we have managed to get the cart before the horse. Be good, we say, and you will be happy. I will be happy, we say to ourselves, if I could be successful and healthy. Be kind and loving to other people, and you will be happy. It might be nearer the truth if we say, be happy, and you will be good, more successful, healthier, feel and act more charitably towards others. Right? Keep up the good work. Praise the Lord. Common misconceptions about happiness. Happiness is not something that is earned or deserved. Happiness is not a moral issue any more than a circulation of the blood is a moral issue. Both are necessary to health and well-being. Happiness is simply a state of mind in which our thinking is pleasant a good share of the time. If you wait until you deserve to think pleasant thoughts, you are likely to think unpleasant thoughts concerning your own unworthiness. Happiness is not the reward of the virtue, says Spinoza, but virtue itself, nor do we delight in happiness, because we restrain our lusts, but on the contrary, because we delight in it. Therefore, we are able to restrain them. The pursuit of happiness is not selfish. Many sincere people are deterred from seeking happiness because they feel it will be selfish or wrong. Unselfishness does not make for happiness, for it not only gets our minds directed outward, away from ourselves and our introspection, our faults, our sins, troubles, unpleasant thoughts, or provide in our goodness, but it also enables us to express ourselves creatively and fulfill ourselves in helping others. One of the most pleasant thoughts to any human being is the thought that he is needed, that he is important enough to help and to add happiness to some other human beings. However, if we make a moral issue out of happiness and conceive of it as something to be earned, as a sort of However, if we make a moral issue of happiness and conceive of it as something to be earned, as a sort of reward for being unselfish, we are very apt to feel guilty about how wanting happiness. Happiness comes from being and acting unselfishly. As a natural accompaniment to the being and acting, not as a payoff or a prize. If we are rewarded for being unselfish, let's turn the page. The next logical step is to assume that the more self-abnegating and miserable we make ourselves, the more happy we will be. The premise leads to the absurd conclusion that the way to be happy is to be unhappy. If there is any moral issue involved in it, I can't today, guys. Okay. If there is any moral issue involved, it is on the side of happiness rather than unhappiness. The attitude of unhappiness is not only painful, it is mean and ugly, says William James. What can be more base and unworthy than pulling, mumping mood? No matter by what outward ills it may have been engineered. What is more injurious to others? What is less helpful as a way out of the difficulty? But it fastens and perpetuates the trouble which occasioned it, and increases the total evil of the situation. Happiness does not lie in the future, but in the present. We are never living, but only hoping to live, and looking forward always to being happy. It is inevitable that we never are so, said Pascal. Excuse me. I have found that one of the commonest causes of unhappiness among my patients is that they are attempting to live their lives on the deferred payment plan. They do not live nor enjoy life now, but wait for some future event or occurrence. They will be happy when they get married, when they get a better job, when they get the house paid for, when they get the children through college, when they have completed some task or won some victory. Invariably, they are disappointed. Happiness is a mental habit, a mental attitude, and if it is not learned and practiced in the present, it is never experienced. It cannot be made contingent upon solving some external problem. When one problem is solved, another appears to take its place. Life is a series of problems. If you are to be happy at all, you must be happy, period. Period. Not happy because of. I have now regained about 50 years in victory or peace, said the Caliph Abdelaram. Beloved by my subjects, dreaded by my enemies, and respected by my allies. Riches and honors, power and pleasure have waited on my call, nor does any earthly blessing appear to have been wanting to my felicity. In this situation, I have diligently numbered the days of pure and genuine happiness which have fallen to my lot. They amount to 14. Imagine only 14 days of happiness in your entire life. Happiness is a mental habit which can be cultivated and developed. Most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be, said Abraham Lincoln. Happiness is purely internal, says psychologist Dr. Matthew N. Chappell. It is produced not by objects, but by ideas, thoughts, and attitudes, which can be developed and constructed by the individual's own activities, irrespective of the environment. No one, other than a saint, can be 100% happy all the time. And as George Bernard Shaw quipped, we would probably be miserable if we were. But we can, by taking thought and making a simple decision, be happy and think pleasant thoughts a large share of the time regarding that multitude of little events and circumstances of daily living which now make us unhappy. To a large extent, we react to petty annoyances, frustrations, and the like with grumpiness, dissatisfaction, resentment, and irritation and irritability purely out of habit. We have practiced reacting that way so long, it has become habitual. Much of this habitual unhappiness reaction originated because of some event which we interpreted as a blow to our self-esteem. A driver honks his horn at us unnecessarily. Someone interrupts and doesn't pay attention while we're talking. Someone doesn't come through for us as we think he should. Even impersonal events can be interpreted as and reacted to as affronts to our self-esteem. The bus we wanted to catch had to be late. It had to go and rain when we planned to play golf. Traffic had to get into a snarl just when we needed to catch the plane. We react with anger, resentment, self-pity, or in other words, unhappiness. Stop letting things push you around. The best cure I have found for this sort of thing is to use unhappiness's own weapon, self-esteem. Have you ever been to a TV show and seen the master of ceremonies manipulate the audience? I asked the patient, He brings out a sign which says applause, and everyone applauds. He brings out another sign which says laughter, and everyone laughs. They act like sheep, as if they were slaves, and meekly react as they are told to react. You are acting the same way. You are letting outward events and other people dictate to you how you shall feel and how you shall react. You are acting as an obedient slave and obeying promptly when some event or circumstance signals you to. Be angry, get upset, or now is the time to feel unhappy. Learning the happiness habit, you become a master instead of a slave. Or as Robert Louis Stevenson said, the habit of being happy enables one to be freed or largely freed from the domination of outward conditions. Your opinion can add to unhappy events, even in regard to traffic conditions and the most adverse environment. We can usually manage to be happier, if not completely happy, by not adding to the misfortune our own feelings of self-pity, resentment, or our own adverse opinions. How can I be happy? The wife of an alcoholic husband asked me. I don't know, I said, but you can be happier by resolving not to add resentment and self-pity to your misfortune. How can I possibly be happy? Asked the businessman. I have just lost $200,000 in the stock market. I am ruined and disgraced. You can be happier, I said, by not adding to your own opinion. By not adding your own opinion to the facts. It is a fact that you lost $200,000. It is your own opinion that you are ruined and disgraced. I then suggested that he memorize a saying of Epictetus, which has always been a favorite of mine. Men are disturbed, said the sage, but not by things that happen, but by their opinion of the things that happen. When I announced that I wanted to be a doctor, I was told that this could not be because my folks had no money. It was a fact that my mother had no money. It was only an opinion that I could never be a doctor. Lately, I was told I could never take postgraduate courses in Germany, and that it was impossible for a young plastic surgeon to hang out his own shingle and go into business for himself in New York. I did all these things, and one of the things that helped me was that I kept reminding myself that all these impossibles were opinions, not facts. I only managed to reach my goals. I not only managed to reach my goals, but I was happy in the process, even when I had to pawn my overcoat to buy medical books and do without lunch in order to purchase cadavers. I was in love with a beautiful girl. She married someone else. These were the facts. But I kept reminding myself that it was merely my opinion that was a catastrophe and that life was not worth living. I not only got over it, but it turned out that it was one of the luckiest things that ever happened to me. I'm going to read one more section and then I'm going to bring on our mastermind member Joy to talk about today's chapter because I think it is amazing. The attitude that makes for happiness. It has been pointed out earlier that since man is a goal-striving being, he is functioning naturally and normally when he is oriented towards some positive goal and striving towards some desirable goal. Happiness is a symptom of normal, natural functioning And when man is functioning as a goal striver, he tends to feel fairly happy, regardless of circumstances. My young business executive friend was very unhappy because he lost $200,000. Thomas A. Edison lost a laboratory worth millions in a fire with no insurance. "What in the world will you do?" someone asked. "We will start rebuilding tomorrow morning," said Edison. He maintained an aggressive attitude. He was still goal-oriented, despite his misfortune. And because he did maintain an aggressive, goal-striving attitude, it is a good bet that he was never unhappy about his loss. Psychologist H.L. Hollingworth has said that happiness requires problems, plus a mental attitude that is ready to meet distress with action towards a solution. I like that. Happiness requires problem, plus a mental attitude that is ready to meet distress with action towards a solution. Much of what we call evil is due entirely to the way men take the phenomenon, said William James. It can so often be converted into a bracing and tonic good by a simple change of the sufferer's inner attitude from one of fear to one of fight. Its stinging can so often depart and turn into a relish when, after vainly seeking to shun it, we agree to face about and bear it cheerfully. That man is so simply bound in honor, with the reverence to many of the facts that seem to first disconcern his peace, to adopt this way of escape, refuse to admit their badness despite their power, ignore their presence, turn your attention the other way, and so far as you yourself are concerned, at any rate, though the facts may still exist, their evil character exists no longer. Since you make them evil or good by your own thoughts about them, it is the ruling of your own thoughts which proves to be your principal concern. Looking back on my own life, I can see that some of the happiest years were those when I was struggling through as a medical student and living from hand to mouth in my early days of practice. Many times I was hungry. I was cold and ill-clad. I worked hard, a minimum of about 12 hours a day. Many times I did not know from month to month where the money was coming from to pay my rent. But I did have a goal. I had a consuming desire to reach it and a determined presence which kept me working toward it. I related all this to the young business executive and suggested that the real cause of his unhappy feeling was not that he lost $200,000, but that he had lost his goal. He had lost his aggressive attitude and was yielding passively rather than reacting aggressively. "I must have been crazy," he told me later, "to let you convince me that losing the money was not what was making me unhappy. But I'm awfully glad he did." He stopped moaning about his misfortune, faced about, got himself another goal, and started working toward it. Within 5 years, he not only had more money than ever before in his life, but for the first time, he was in a business that he enjoyed. Practice exercise. Form the habit of reacting aggressively and passively towards threats and positively. Not passively. Form the habit of reacting aggressively and positively towards threats and problems. Form the habit of keeping goal-oriented all the time, regardless of what happens. Do this. Sorry, guys. Do this by practicing a positive, aggressive attitude, both in actual everyday situations which come up and also in your imagination. See yourself in your imagination taking positive, intelligent action towards solving a problem or reaching a goal. See yourself reacting to threats not by running away or evading them, but by meeting them, dealing with them, grappling with them in an aggressive and intelligent manner. Most people are brave only in dangers to which they accustom themselves, either in imagination or practice, said Bloor Lytton, the English novelist. Wow. I love that last sentence right there. And I'm going to let Joy in so we can talk about. Hey, Joy, how are you today, girl?
Hi, Alyssa. I am well, thank you. How you doing?
I'm good. My voice is like in
Good.
and out today. I don't know what's going on.
Uh,
But
you know,
it happens. You gotta
throat
stay
chakra.
enthusiastic through it all.
There you go. There you go.
You said though. I know, right? The people need to hear the truth today.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about today's reading?
I love this. Of course, some things that came up immediately are it's it's very common to feel happy based on what happens versus just feeling happy. And it's like it's in the word, right? We talked about etymology a few sessions ago. So if we're only going to feel happy based on what happens, then we are allowing external circumstances to control us. Just like the author said about, the example he gave about the master of ceremonies at a TV recording. You know, right now in the region that I'm in right now, it is raining. And a lot of I remember in childhood, that was something that would be just such a deterrent for everybody. Oh my goodness, it's raining outside. We can't go outside for recess. And it would be something that would cause us to feel upset and unhappy. But at the same time, indoor recess was so much fun. You get to play board games. Sometimes they bring the TV. Sometimes they let you eat snacks inside the classroom. And either way, you're alive, you're breathing, you get to have a different experience. And that really is the basis of being happy, that internal feeling that allows you to recognize the good in everything, and how any situation, no matter how it could be perceived as negative, really always has something positive from it if you're willing to spend the time to search for, or not even search for, but allow that gift in the present moment to be revealed to you.
I love everything that you brought up, and it's like it really is a habit. And I think that's what the author was wanted to highlight here. And a habit is what you do constantly and consistently. A habit is an opportunity to respond, an opportunity to experience for yourself what you consistently are comfortable with, right? What you know most. I don't know if my camera looks sideways here. Can you guys see me? Because I can't see myself.
Oh no, yeah, it looks good. It went out.
Okay,
It went out a couple times, but it's up. It's upright.
thank you. And I highlighted here, men are disturbed not by things that happen, but by their own opinion of the things that happen. And I think one of my favorite lessons as a kid was learning the difference between opinion and fact.
Mm-hmm.
Learning the difference between, the it's not really truth and lie, because, your opinion is true to you. But facts are not equivalent to opinion. You know how he went through the list of his friend lost $200,000. That would make a lot of people depressed.
Mm-hmm.
That would make a lot of people hate life. That would make a lot of people walk around miserable if that is their consistent habit. But if their consistent habit is to enjoy life, to be happy no matter what, to find small pleasures in simple things, right? That will completely change your circumstances. Because as soon as he was convinced that, hey, Just because you lost the money, that doesn't mean you have to pity yourself.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up making more money than he ever did in his entire life.
Exactly.
Like, just imagine the difference it makes when you're choosing to have a habit of happiness.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Yeah. And when I want to share one more personal experience, right? A little while ago, I had a really great job opportunity. I was really excited about it. I told everyone, I was like, hey, I'm about to be a flight attendant. Not even a week or two later, I got arrested for the most absurd. It was the most absurd circumstances. Um, Obviously, I'm fine. I'm not in jail. I'm not in prison. But I lost the job opportunity. I no longer have this opportunity to get paid to travel, to get free flights to go anywhere I want, pretty much. And was it upsetting? For about an hour, maybe two. I was really upset.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterward, I decided to just be happy I was free. I didn't go to prison. I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many worse things that could have happened. And of course, I could have been miserable, thinking, oh, I would never get a job. Oh, this sucks. And now I have an even better opportunity.
Right.
Just because I was positive and attacked aggressively my circumstances. I was like, I'm going to get rid of this charge. I'm going to get rid of this entire situation from my life. And I did, and I prevailed through it because of my habit to choose happiness. Because before, I had the habit of being miserable, pitying myself, and all of the above, right? And we all do, but it's just the choices we make on a consistent basis.
Oh my goodness, I love that, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
To add to that, you know, 'cause you just mentioned about the choices that we have to choose something, to not choose self-pity, for example. And it's like, how do you do that for real? Because it's really the conditioning that allows us to do that so easily, because it's not, as the author said, what happens to us. It's our opinions about what happens and what it means to us. Meaning is everything. And so, where do those meanings come from? But the conditioning of society. Society will have you believe that if you lose $200,000 in some kind of business deal, that it means all of these negative things about you. But that's not the truth. Those are just opinions of society that you can choose or not choose to believe about yourself. So if you really believe and recognize in your power to choose, why would you choose to think negatively about yourself just because something outside of you runs on that kind of programming? But the reality is that it's not easy. It's not easy because many of our parents believe certain things about themselves that they pass down onto us. And, it means that you're irresponsible, or it means that you're not a good person. And I'm putting all these things in air quotes. And people, have this aversion to being identified in those ways. But who's identifying you in that way but you?
Right. Who is it? Are you letting the opinions of others dictate your opinion of yourself?
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And I grew up in that environment, where things were constantly influencing how you feel, because people said, well, this is wrong, so you should be mad about it. And this is wrong, so, XYZ. But once you make up your mind, right? The quote by Abraham Lincoln, man is happy if he makes up his mind to be. Once you choose, once you decide and realize you have all authority and all power in your life to create any circumstances that you please and desire, you are liberated and free to choose happiness all the time, no matter what the circumstances. You could be broke, you could be sick, you could be, halfway up your wits with stress. But if you're choosing to set a goal for yourself, maybe to overcome all those things, focus on something simple. Like, I've decided I'm going to smile today, all day, and just focus on being happy. That is what you'll get. And I hope that people do receive that message. Choosing to be happy is a choice, and it is a choice that will change your life for the better.
Yes. That resonates so deeply what you just said about growing up in that environment, where it's like you're expected to get upset if something happens. You're expected to react aggressively, in a negative way. If it's perceived that someone, quote unquote, disrespected you, right? And I'm not saying we should walk around and let people disrespect us. That's not what this is. But I'm making a point here. So my personal story is that y'all can see my name is Joy, and in childhood I had such an ingrained habit of embodying that. Like, I was just always very cheerful and sunny. And it wasn't on, no fake tip. It was just like, that was my disposition. But this is a story about conditioning. I should have prefaced it. So many people around me just did not embody that and did not feel that way. There was almost always so much complaining about everyday circumstances and about personal circumstances, and the expectation that things were going to go wrong, and the expectation that if things were going to be, quote unquote, going wrong, that you should react in a negative or in a sick, sad way about that. And so over time, y'all, I started to feel very guilty about just feeling happy innately. I just felt guilty about feeling that way because I was like, damn, like, so many people around me don't feel like that. And who am I? This is the conditioning, y'all. Who am I to walk around feeling happy all the time if I don't have $1 million and I don't live in a mansion? And who am I to, be and feeling like this and smiling all the time? And so I kind of just turned that light down a little bit at a time until it was like dimmed. So much so that I didn't even always use my name in situations. Like, I would introduce myself as something different. I would try to change the spelling online. I really wouldn't share my name a lot because I just kind of felt like I felt guilty about being Joy, because I felt like if it would remind people of their lack of it. And then one day I said enough of that, because it does not serve anyone for me to dim my light and contribute to more dimness in the world. If anything, I can shine my light so brightly that it reminds people that there is inner joy inside that they can tap into whenever they feel ready to. So it is possible, as Alyssa just shared, and as I just shared now, to change your habit of pessimism and negativity and woe is me and pity, and just decide that I'm going to be happy. I may not be happy all day, every day, 24/7. Something might happen. I was crying on Friday, y'all. Okay? Boo-hoo snotting. Because life is real. And real things happen that sometimes take you to that place. But it's okay to feel that, because we're human. We are meant to feel every emotion that humans can feel. And it's all part of the evolution of our soul's growth, in order to experience these things and be able to hold them in a way that is so gracious that we allow ourselves to be a living, walking testimony of how we can come through anything.
That was beautiful, Joy. Thank you for sharing. And I wanted to bring it back to this. There's two parts here. Common misconceptions about happiness. Happiness is not the reward of the virtue, but it is virtue itself. We delight in happiness because we restrain our lusts, but we delight in it, therefore we are able to restrain them, right? We're able to live a beautiful life because we are happiness. And many sincere people deter from seeking happiness because they will feel it's selfish or wrong. But gets our minds away from ourselves, our own faults, sins, and troubles, or pride in goodness, and it enables us to express ourselves creatively and fulfill ourselves in helping others. So you're right on path with that, girl. You are right on path with that.
So much
Thank
gratitude.
you. Yes, thank you for choosing to be of joy again and choosing to spread your light, because it really is a choice for each of us that we each have to make on a daily basis. You can ignite someone's fire just by making a decision to enjoy your life. People will see you and they want to know, how are you doing that? Why are you doing that? What are you doing? And they will change their own feeling and attitude towards life once they see someone else living a life of joy and happiness. So never dim your light for anyone. Not even yourself. Even when you have the voice in the back of your head talking about, oh, you don't deserve to be happy. Yes, you do. Everyone deserves to be happy. But thank you so much for being here today, Joy, and all of our viewers and everyone watching the recording. I hope the message was received today, and we stayed a little extra because Spirit is telling us that y'all need some happiness, you know. I don't know where you guys are, but it's looking a little gloomy out there today.
Yes, it is.
So
same.
We will continue reading this beautiful chapter at our next meeting, but rewatch this as many times as you need, and leave a comment below if it really resonated with you. We love you, and thank you so much for being here.